Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com. You know, recently I made the move to mirrorless cameras, and I've been getting a lot of emails from folks asking me why I chose what I chose. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the camera I chose and why I chose it. Now, with that said, just because I chose this make and model camera doesn't mean whatever you happen to choose is wrong, or I think you're wrong for choosing that system. This works for me, and I'm going to go over the reasons why I think it works for me so you understand why I chose what I chose. Now, I went in without any preconceived notions. I kept it open-minded about everything, and it didn't influence me that this certain photographer uses this brand and that one uses that brand. I just ignored all that, and I wanted to make a decision based on myself and what I think will work for me. And the first thing I was interested in was the sensor. Now, the sensor size didn't matter to me. I didn't really need a full-size sensor or a crop size sensor. It didn't matter. I think with the technology today, crop sensor cameras make images that are great, and you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference between an image that's made with a crop sensor camera compared to one that's made with a full sensor camera, so full-size sensor camera. So that wasn't a factor. But what was the aspect ratio. Now, I've been into photography for 40 years, and I've been a professional for 35 years. So I'm really used to a 2:3 aspect ratio. That's when I started. I used 35mm film cameras, and the aspect ratio was 2:3. I did wedding photography for years, and I would photograph groups, and I inherently knew like how much space to leave on the edges, because I knew that if the bride and groom chose that image to be in their album, it would be an 8x10 print, and I'm going to lose 2 inches on the long side. I didn't want to crop anyone out at the edges, so I just know with that 2:3 aspect ratio how to frame a shot. It just comes naturally. I'm very used to it. So when I looked at the Micro Four Thirds systems, it just seemed so foreign to me. It was something that I just couldn't embrace. I'm so used to the 2:3 aspect ratio. So right off the bat, I eliminated a bunch of different cameras, all those Micro Four Thirds cameras. Although they make great images, I just didn't want that aspect ratio. Now, the next thing that I wanted a interchangeable lens camera. So anything that had a fixed lens on it, I eliminated. Now, because I wanted an interchangeable lens camera, the system that I was going to choose needed a lot of different lenses to choose from, because I do a lot of different types of photography. So I needed a lot of different lenses in their line for me to, pick and choose what I needed. That's when I started leaning towards Fujifilm. Last I looked, they have 19 lenses in their X-Series line, and I'm pretty sure that's more than anyone else, at least as much. So I was really attracted to that. They had lenses for everything that I would be doing. So I started looking closer at Fujifilm. The other thing I noticed is they have, in their cameras, they have film simulation modes. And as I mentioned, I was a wedding photographer forever, and I used Fujifilm. And I was used to the Astia and the Velvia films and all these different films that Fuji had. And you could recreate that look with their film simulation modes that's in the software of their cameras. They also have one that's classic chrome, which I think is unlike anything anyone else has. And I'm really enamored with classic chrome look. And I use it a lot, specifically in my street photography and in some other things I've been doing. So I really like those film simulation modes. They also have, for my street photography, those of you that shot film know in the old days we would put filters on our lens when we shot black and white. We'd use a yellow filter to enhance sky, and we'd use like a green filter to enhance skin tone in a black and white print or a black and white image. Well, they have these simulations in their camera too, so you could change these different filter looks when you're doing a black and white shot. So I liked that as well. So the next thing, okay, I'm kind of leaning towards Fuji. I started looking at the camera bodies themselves, and I wanted to look at something that would appeal to me. And I started really liking the Fuji X-T1, and it's a little more expensive. It's I think one of their higher price bodies, but they have so many to choose from, really entry-level things to these higher end models. And what I liked about this is they have these big, large analog knobs on the top where I could switch ISO, shutter speed, and exposure compensation with just a spin of a dial. I don't have to like hold a button in and spin a wheel or go through a menu system to change ISO or to change shutter speed or anything like that. It's very quick. So that, I mean, is an advantage in any type of photography you're doing, specifically and particularly street photography that I'm doing. I could switch my shutter speed or my ISO very easily and quickly, and that was important to me. Also, all the lenses have aperture rings on them, so yeah, I could switch aperture very easily just by spinning the ring on the lens. So that came in really handy. The next thing I did was, and I would encourage you to do this also, is I went to 500px and I just put in X-T1 in the search bar at the top at 500px.com. And I was greeted with thousands of images that were taken with this camera. And I just saw the quality of the image. It's just great. So I really started thinking I'm going to get this camera. So that's what I did, and I got to tell you, I'm not disappointed. As a matter of fact, I got so enthused with this camera, I find that I use it almost exclusively. I bring it everywhere and use it like for all different types of things. I really love it. Recently, I went to Washington, D.C., and all I took was this camera with a 28 to 135 zoom lens, and or it's 18 to 135 zoom lens, I'm sorry, and it covered everything. That's all I needed. I went through all the museums, I saw all the monuments, and I just used this camera and that 18 to 135 lens, and I was able to take, I didn't miss a picture because of that. So again, lots of different lenses to choose from. Right now I have a 35mm on here for my street photography. I usually use a 23mm. They have a 56mm for portraiture. They have a roadmap of lenses that they're coming out in the future. So you know that in a year from now they're going to have, you know, this other lens, or in 2 years they're going to have a different lens, and you could plan accordingly. Save your money ahead of time so you could afford the lens when it comes out. So again, I'm really enamored with this. Now, as I say, I carry this around just about everywhere, and I should say just about. But there's other times, I like to have a camera with me all the time, but even this is sometimes a little too big to go if I'm going out to dinner with my wife or something like that. But again, I still like to have a camera with me. So what I did was, I have this Fujifilm X100t, and this takes images just as good as this camera. It can't, you know, be more pleased. It has big knobs on the top again, like this camera. What it doesn't have is interchangeable lenses. I give that up for the compactness of this camera. But it fits in a pocket. If, you know, my pants are too tight or something, my wife will put this in her purse for me. So it's really a great option to have too. So you could always have a camera with you and never miss a shot. So that's why I chose Fujifilm cameras, all those reasons. If you guys have any questions about Fujifilm or anything like that, feel free to email me. I'm glad to answer all your questions. In the description below, I'm going to have a link to Fujifilm's website so you can look at their different model cameras, and I'll have links to Amazon.com where you could look at this camera, how much it costs, and some more specs on it, and we'll go from there. I'm going to be doing a lot of videos in the future where I'll be out and about. Specifically, I'm going to be doing a series on street photography starting in about a week, and I'll have usually this Fujifilm X-T1 with me. Sometimes I might have the X100t with me. And I'm going to have an action cam strapped to my chest. And I'm going to go walking around doing street photography and telling you some of the things I look for when I do street photography. And I'm going to try to make it, though, so it's not just for street photographers. I'm going to talk about compositional rules and things like that that might help all photographers. So I hope you'll watch that series. Also, one of my sons, my middle son, Nick, told me that he'd really like to learn photography, that he has the time to do it now. So I'm going to start a video series with him where I'm teaching him photography from the ground up. So if you're interested in learning photography, look for that series. That should be starting in a couple weeks. And we'll start learning photography together. So that's that. That's why I moved to Fujifilm mirrorless cameras. Again, any questions, feel free to ask, and look forward to those video series in the future. All right? I appreciate everyone watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.